Have you ever wondered why there are doctors who are fat? These are the experts in human physiology, the authority on what causes obesity, so they should know. There's no lack of willpower. I mean, to become a doctor requires dedication and commitment. So why are there fat doctors? I'd like to suggest because conventional wisdom is wrong. What they learnt way back when is no longer the case. Science has moved on, and it has. Flossing. Flossing, science shows that flossing has got zero impact when it comes to preventing gum disease or cavities. Medical knowledge has just exponentially expanded. In fact, in the 1950s, the doubling of medical knowledge took about 50 years. In 1980, it was around 10 years. In 2010, it was down to 3.5 years for medical knowledge to double. Very recently, medical knowledge is doubling every 75 days. We know more today than we knew yesterday, and you need to keep up. Breakfast, the most important meal of the day? Not at all. A fallacy sold to us by the cereal companies. Is coffee good for you? Wow. I've told patients many times to watch their coffee intake. Why? I have no idea, because coffee is the elixir of the gods. In fact, you should be drinking 6 cups of black coffee a day because it protects you from Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and diabetes, certain cancers. It really is good for you. The antioxidants in coffee are just loaded with good things for your health. The asthma guidelines have changed after 3 decades. My son is an asthmatic. I now change his treatment guidance because we now know more. I remember telling patients, watch how many eggs you take because it increases your cholesterol. In 2016, the American Heart Association said you can have as many eggs as you like because dietary cholesterol, we now know, doesn't affect serum cholesterol. My point is this: we know more today than we knew yesterday, and you can't know everything, but you need to know about the things that matter to you most. And we're talking health today. What does good health mean? The oldest documented lady to ever have lived, person to have lived, was a lady called Jean-Louise Calment, died at the age of 122. She rode a bike until the age of 100. She quit smoking at the age of 115. Can you imagine that? Felt it was becoming a habit. But on her 120th birthday, 2 years before she passed away, they had a big celebration for her. And she spoke and she said some fascinating things. She said, at 120, I realized I have no peer pressure, which, fair enough. She also had a wicked sense of humor, and she said, I've only got one wrinkle and I'm sitting on it, which was too much information. But here's what she said that struck me. She said, if I could live my life over, I would trade a long life for a good life. So when it comes to being healthy, is it really long life? Is it really not dying? Because that's what Harvard found. The more coffee you drink, the less chance you have of dying. But is that just good health, or is it quality of life? And by the way, people looked at Jean-Louise Calment and said she smoked, she drank. The fact that she lived to be so old and so long was just good genes. Well, it turns out, again, that's not the case. A famous Danish study done some years ago on 2,500 identical twins showed that when it came to a good and a healthy life and a long life, it was 20% genetics and 80% lifestyle, which is fantastic because it means how you and I choose to live has a real impact on our health. And in my own life, particularly, of all the things my parents handed down to me, a pointy nose, small ears, a big forehead, they gave me the obesity gene, the FDO gene allele. I have the gene. Can you imagine genetics? And I remember first reading that and getting my test back and just feeling so disheartened. I plopped down on a couch, I opened a bag of crisps and just started stuffing my face because I've got the obesity gene. But it turns out that daily activity and regular exercise can turn off that bad gene. So yes, it turns out that nurture trumps nature when it comes to your health. And how you and I choose to live really does have an impact on our quality of life. So how then shall we live? What do you and I need to do to be healthy? And again, it's so difficult to decide where to start. There is so much information out there, the bloggers, the Facebook experts, the Instagrammers who look amazing and are spouting health advice. Where do you start? Well, can I suggest that you take down all those Post-it notes, stop reading the blogs of whoever, and look at just 3 things in your life when it comes to health. Eat, sleep, and move. As simple as that. Eat more real food, eat less junk food. When it comes to sleep, 7 hours minimum. And when it comes to movement or exercise, exercise more. It really is as simple as that. Life is so much better when you're healthy, and being healthy is so much easier than you thought. But let's unpack that very briefly. So when it comes to eating, humblest apologies from the medical fraternity. I think we've confused everybody. Calories in, calories out, calorie-restricted diets, complete fallacy. Eat less, move more. That doesn't work. Snack regularly to maintain an even blood sugar. No, guys, these things have been debunked. And I know we've confused you. Stop eating eggs. Just fat is bad. Now fat is good. It's really confusing. But it's good to know that there is still the standard of good health or good diet that hasn't changed amongst all the diets and all the fads that come and go. And it's simply this: eat more real food, eat less junk food, less processed food. So take away your refined grains, remove added sugars, moderate protein intake, high intake of natural fats, and have a lot of fiber. It's as simple as that. It really means eat more real food. If it flies, walks, crawls, swims, or grows on a plant, you can eat that. Anything that comes from a plant or a box or a tin or needs to go ping in a microwave before you can eat it, avoid that. More real food, less processed or junk food. Simple as that. That's eating. When it comes to sleeping, it's a matter of testicles for you gentlemen. Men who sleep for 5 hours or less have significantly smaller testicles than men who sleep for 7 hours or more. How's that for curing your sleep problem right there? And not only that, but if you're sleeping 5 hours or less, you have a testosterone profile of someone 10 years your senior. You're just getting old quickly. And it's not just men. In fact, sleeplessness, we do a sleep experiment on 1.6 billion people across 70 countries every year. The sleep experiment is called daylight saving. On the day that we lose an hour of sleep, we see an increase in heart attacks of 24%, an increase. On the day that we gain an hour of sleep, we see a decrease in heart attacks of 21%, just that day. And the same profile goes for motor vehicle accidents and suicides. So sleep, it turns out, is vitally, vitally important. We have an army in our bodies of natural killer cells that protect us from cancers. They sort of chasing out tumors, and they're destroying tumors in our bodies. If we sleep 4 hours or less, we see a 70% reduction of those natural killer cells, which makes us hugely prone to cancers, which is why the World Health Organization now describes shift work, which really interferes with our sleep, as carcinogenic or cancer-causing, potentially. So what do we need to do when it comes to sleep? 3 basic things. Preparation. So the more you exercise, the better you sleep. Forget the nightcap. Put away technology before you go to bed. Make sure you're prepared to sleep. Then your sleep environment. Think Batman. Cool, dark, quiet. All right. And finally, 7 hours minimum. 7 to 9 hours of sleep is what you want to be getting, and you want it to be consistent. Monday through Sunday. Same time to bed, same time to wake, 7 days a week. That makes for good sleep habits. Eat, sleep, move. Finally, most of us know that mantra. Exercise is this miracle drug. It combats chronic disease. It helps maintain weight. It boosts brain power and sex drive and energy and immunity. It's this wonderful free addictive drug. But most of us are not getting our daily dose. And the reason why is because we don't have a why. In fact, if you thought about your why for being healthy, if you don't have that, it doesn't matter how much you eat, sleep, or move, you're never going to stick to that. You need to figure out what your why is. But let's go back to movement for a moment. What's the minimum dose of exercise required? And that really depends what you want to do. If you want to run a marathon, download a training program and follow the training program. But if you just want good health, quality of life, the guidelines are 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise every week. That's half an hour a day, 5 days a week of moderate intensity exercise. Surely you can do that. If you don't have time for that, you can halve that time with vigorous intensity exercise. 75 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise every week, that's the guideline. That and 2 days of strength training. and I'll tell you in a moment why that's important. But that's all. So that's how much. The next issue around exercise is how hard. How intensely should I be training? Well, exercise has got 3 classifications: low intensity, moderate intensity, or vigorous intensity. All right, moderate, 150 minutes, vigorous, 75 minutes. How do I know the difference? Well, you could wear one of these fancy watches, or you can just do the talk test, which simply goes like this. If you can sing while you're exercising, you're not exercising. That's low intensity. If you can talk while you're exercising but not sing, that's moderate intensity. And if you can't talk while you're exercising, a few words between breaths, that's vigorous intensity. So now you know how much, you know how hard. What about the type of exercise? What's the best exercise in the world? And every single CrossFitter out there is going, he's going to say CrossFit. No, not CrossFit, not running, not swimming. The best exercise in the world, are you ready for this, is the exercise that you will do. It sounds lame, but it's true. Science has shown that one exercise doesn't have a benefit over another type of exercise as long as you do it at the right intensity for your fitness levels, which means dancing works. Gardening, if you can garden at intensity, works. Pick the exercise that you enjoy because you'll keep doing that. What about that strength training I mentioned? 2 days a week of strength training exercises. And by that I mean your push-ups and your body work, your resistance training. The importance of that is that if we are inactive as adults, what we find happening to our bodies is we get a reduction in muscle mass, we get a reduction in metabolic rate, the rate at which our body burns fuel, and an increase in fat accumulation if we're inactive. The only kind of exercise that combats those 3 horrible outcomes of being inactive is strength training. We get an increase in muscle mass, we get an increase in metabolic rate, the rate at which we burn fuel, and a decrease in fat accumulation. That's why it's so important to incorporate muscle strengthening exercises with our cardiovascular exercises. One last thought on movement. We can exercise as much as we want to, but if we sit for too long periods at a time, we undo all the good that exercise is doing. The studies now show that if we sit for periods of 90 minutes or more, we have a 200% increased risk of early death. I mean, it's as serious as that. In fact, there was a great study that showed for every cigarette we smoke, or someone smokes, we shorten life expectancy by 11 minutes. Compared to every hour that we sit, we shorten life expectancy by 22 minutes. Sitting is the new smoking. And just because you're getting your exercise in the morning doesn't mean you can sit for extended periods of time. It's like smoking and exercising. Smoking is still bad for you, just like sitting is still bad for you. Those that are active and still sit, we call active couch potatoes. You do not want to be sitting for extended periods of time. So what do? The American Heart Association says, sit less, move more, not particularly helpful. A guideline here is every hour, make sure you get up for 5 minutes and do something active. Make a phone call, have a conversation, pick a fight with someone if you must, but do something active every single hour. And you'll combat the negative effects of sitting for extended periods of time. Guys, it really is as simple as that. Life is so much better when you're healthy, and being healthy is so much easier than you thought. It comes down to eat, sleep, and move. When it comes to eating, more real food, less junk food. When it comes to sleeping, 7 hours minimum, cool, dark, and quiet. And when it comes to exercise, just move more. There you have it.